So we have a dartboard, and let's just pretend that there's no skill involved. This is completely random darts. Okay, I don't know if you guys know, but Maya is a dart sharpshooter. She practices in her basement every night underneath the black light. Oh, okay, must be a different Maya then. So we got this random dart game. What's the theoretical probability of me hitting areas A, B, C, D? Liam? They all have a 25% chance. Why? They each cover up an area, right, of 1/4 of the whole square. So it works out to be 25% chance. What do you notice about each of those areas? Yeah.
Some of them are split up.
Okay, they're divided, right, into fractions. And some of those are larger than others, and some are smaller than others. So we know that I have a 25% chance, theoretically, if I had some random dart game throwing at this, that it would hit area B. But what would happen if I did this? What's the theoretical probability now of me hitting E? Tuck your tables, work together on this. Explain how you get your thinking. Remember, don't just say answers, explain your thinking.
3/4 is 1/4.
Which is? So I heard this. They're like, well, this is 3/4 of 1/4. Right? Because this is 1/4 of this, and that is 3/4 of the 1/4. So 3/4 of 1/4. What does that of word mean? 3/16. Now I also heard this. I heard, well, these are fourths. How many would cover the whole square? 16. How many are E? 3/16. So both ways you can get the right answer on that one, right? Doing it that way. What would happen if I did this? Tuck your tables. So now, what's the probability of me hitting E? Remember, whatever you come up with, support your thinking.
Wait, are we adding the E to the
Oh, yeah.
Complicated.
I think you're supposed to find a common denominator, maybe?
Why? So when we find a common denominator, why would we do that? What do we do? What operation are we using when we find a common denominator?
Yeah, multiplication.
Do you need a common denominator to multiply?
So there's 4 E's, and then there's 4 other E's. So there's E, and then there's 4 others.
But they don't all cover the same space.
Exactly. The new E is it's bigger than a fourth. What is it?
Yeah, it's a third.
It's a third of that little area. And it's one, what is it of the whole?
So that'd be 10.
Oh, this is good. This is good. You guys are thinking, all right, I like this.
13 or 48.
There we go. So Orlando's on to something here. Listen to Orlando here.
Is this right? 13. I don't think it would be.
Why?
I know it's not.
A
Well, I
third
don't think
times a fourth plus
25%.
and a third times a fourth is
Well, a third times the fourth is 1/12, and then 1/12 plus 3/16.
yeah.
Yes. Row up into thirds, we get 12. And it would be
So I'm hearing this. I've heard it from David. I've heard it from Liam. Heard it from Orlando. Okay. This is what they've concluded. E's 1/12 of that. D is 3/16 of this. But that still doesn't answer my question is what's the probability of hitting space E? So what do I have to do? So because I want to know what's the probability of hitting this and that. And when you typically hear that word and, what operation? Addition. So, if I go common denominator? 48. He says 48. 12 goes into 48 and 16 goes in there. So 48. How many times does 16 go into 48? 3. 3 times 3? 9. 48. 12 goes into there. 4 times. 4 times that? 13. 48. Which is what percent? 27. In the game of darts, it's not, but in the game of math, it's not correct. It's close, but it's not correct. So we have a 27% chance if random, right? If you were able to do this randomly to hit that space. So if I threw the dart 80 times, how many times would I hit B and C? Well, not E. We're talking about this question now. I'm sorry. B and C. David?
40 times, about 40 times.
Because I'm going to throw it 80 times, I have a 0.25% chance to get B, and then another 80 times 0.25 to get area C. So if that's B, that's C. That's going to be 20 times. That's going to be 20. And what's 20 plus 20? 40. So I'd have a 40% chance or 50% chance to hit the board, which makes sense because they both take up that much area. Any questions about this? Because this is probability, using probability to figure out how many times you're going to hit something. It's also figuring out area. And both of these skills are going to be pretty important for tomorrow. So tomorrow, you can go ahead and put your warm-up away. Tomorrow, we have a partner test. Remember, if you're coming back from school, super important, you get a day for a day. That's your responsibility. You got to set up time to connect with all your teachers, not just me, but all your teachers, so you don't fall behind. All right, seems to be improving some. We're going to keep talking about it, hopefully improve it a lot. But yeah, if you miss school, it's your responsibility. You got to get on it. Homework, make sure we're on time with that because not accepting late work. Socratic seminar. All right, for those of you that don't have your Socratic paper, it's over here. You will be required to take notes. My obligation is that, yes, I would like everybody to participate. Okay, we'll go over norms in a second. Jackie's side, Jackie, you take your desks, move them way over by the whiteboard. Ben and Orlando, take your desks, move them way over there. We're going to make a circle for Socratic. And wait, one last thing. This is your homework.
Yay, we get homework.
Okay? Very, very, very simple.
Wait, is it due tomorrow?
Simple.
I would work on it. I would finish it and I work on it, but I know because I wouldn't. I've taken notes.
You can take all your notes on the paper.
I know. I'm saying can I take notes on this one? I know.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I would like to see if you can't find one way to make a productive comment. All right, let's grab our Socratic. Let's come into the circle. Yeah, you got to be in the circle.
Wait, do we need clipboards? No, we have blankets. I'm just gonna sit on the floor.
Come on, Jacob. You got to go find a spell.
How?
Ooh, that's really close to falling over. Are you ready to go down? Yeah. Stomach not feeling well? What's up? Okay, you will need your clipboard, right? Okay, norms. And we're not talking about the guy norm. What are some of our norms for Socratic seminar?
Pulling people in and asking constructive questions.
Okay, productive, right?
Yeah.
Making sure we make productive comments. I love what you said. One of our norms is to make sure that we get everybody's thinking, right? Participation. Another norm, Taylor?
Is to make at least 2 productive comments and take notes.
Okay, productive comment and take notes. David?
To be respectful.
To be respectful. Okay, that means that some people might say something that you don't agree with. We don't say, well, that's trash. Right? We might want to say, you know what? I thought about that differently. This is how I thought about it. So just making sure that when we share our thoughts, we're respectful about that. We can say I agree. We can say I disagree. If we say agree or disagree, what is the expectation?
You say why you agree with it.
You have to support it. Okay. Other norms.
I know your productive question that would further deepen this discussion.
Okay. Excellent. Do we want people to have time to finish their thinking?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't interrupt. If you have something that you're like, I really need to say this, write it down. That's why we're taking notes. Okay. Any other norms? Be considerate and respectful. Question number 1. Given the problem you solved, what method works best with solving the problem?
I thought that one of the things that worked best was knowing that there's 5 rooms and that one of them was taken away, so that there's 4 rooms left, and that the favorable outcome is over the total rooms for each percent to get the percentage.
I like that idea, but one way that I thought was a very was a good method for me was to find the probability first, which I did that by dividing 1 by 5, and then kind of decreasing after I knew that they had opened a door and there was nothing behind it.
So I agree with Taylor because, because finding the percentage, the probability that each event is going to occur or could occur is very important to make your decisions.
I agree with Taylor and Clara because I think it's easier to, like, if you're subtracting out door 5 because it was already open, I think it's easier to subtract the percentage from a percentage.
The way I did it was I needed to find out how many rooms that were left after we opened door 3, so I drew a quick picture of 5 doors, and door 3 was open. And I found that there were 4 doors left, and one of them had money behind it. Find out a 25% chance.
I agree with Taylor, Clara, and Riley because finding the probability and seeing how it decreased before you got to choose, like to switch the door or to stay with your door. That just worked out to be the best way for me.
And I agree with what most of you said in that it helps if you find the probability first and then you can work from there.
Ben, what do you think?
I think that I agree with Riley because like subtracting percentages is a lot easier than say subtracting fractions from another percentage.
I'm confused because I said you should make a tree diagram.
For like all the outcomes?
Yeah. That's, I guess, a good idea to find the bottom part of your division to find probability. That could be a first step. And then dividing whatever the possible outcomes are by 1.
So Lulu, what made you think of having the tree diagram, like using a tree diagram?
Because that helps you find the positive outcomes. I think.
Jacob, what did you think about
I agree with Riley that you find the probability first and subtract the 2% and subtract the percentage.
I agreed with Taylor, Clara, Jacob, and Riley
What about
because, and Warren,
And Ben.
okay, and Ben. Anybody else? Okay, because they all said to take away a door, which, oh, and also David said that, because you all take away a door, because then it shows that, because in the question it said that the host opened door 3, meaning that there's only 4 doors left, causing that to be a probability of 25%.
Well, what about the experimental probability?
That's the theoretical.
Well, that's, yeah.
Because we don't
One
know
fourth is
actually.
different.
We don't actually know what happened. We know the situation and we know what could happen, but we don't know actually what.
Yeah.
We don't know if any of the contestants.
Yeah, he didn't switch or
Yeah,
what.
he did.
Well, and you do know that 8 of the contestants won by selecting door 2. Well, 3 of them won by selecting door 2.
Yeah, but we're trying to find his experimental probability.
What do you think you do?
What do you think, Jackie?
Well, I utilize like process of elimination, like how it said like there was like the open door and there wasn't money prize behind there, so obviously it has to be behind all the other doors. Colton, what do you think?
I liked what Jackie. No, the green shirt guy.
David?
David said because that's what I do. I drew a picture and then took off a door.
And so I'm just kind of curious, what would be the benefit of like drawing a picture? I mean, you could just like do it out on paper.
Well, one, it being more visible, like, you can obviously see, it's just more visible.
Fair point.
Maya, what door would you open?
I have no idea. I probably, I don't know, obviously I wouldn't do door 3 because it's already open. And I'd say the probability of it being door 2 might be a little less because that's the door that had the prize behind it last time. So,
Well, only 8 people tried it and 3 people got the prize behind 2 doors.
And if you
So,
and then, if you do the math, for, the 3/8 of the people got it behind door number 2, 38% of them, did get it, and 62% of them did not, so there's, like, a greater chance that you won't, as of the experimental probability.
But you also have all the other doors, so 2 has a pretty good chance from the last people, because you still have, what was it, like 4 and 5?
I said that I would switch to door number 2 because it says 3 out of 8 contestants won for choosing door number 2, so that is a 38% chance that, well, theoretically, that you would get $500 from switching to door 2. So that's probably.
I agree with Leanne. I said I would switch to door 2 because it is a little less than 50%, but it's probably, it should be higher than all the other doors percentage.
I do agree with Riley and Leah as well, because I also said that I would switch, because if the winner was door number 2, or in door number 2, I highly doubt that the host would keep on putting it in door number 2 and have consecutive winners. So that would probably mean that the host, either a female or a male, would probably switch it so that there's a different chance of winning.
Yeah, I agree with that.
that was kind of my point that it, I mean, obviously it could, but it's probably not going to be that
Yeah, but there's like, so what Kendra did, what was it, like a 38% chance?
That it, 38 that it, was, and 62 that it was.
Yeah, and you still had 2 other doors, and so that most likely be the greatest chance between those 2 other doors, so
3 other doors.
3 other doors. So,
Yeah, because you only have 4 doors after you eliminate.
So I'm going to pause you there. Cool, so I want you to think. So we had some conversation about theoretical probability, and we had some conversation about experimental probability. And Leanne pointed out, and Riley pointed out that, hey, what is the experimental probability? What's the only probability we know of?
How many people it got?
How many people, right? 3 out of 8. Got number 2. So we know right now, experimentally, number 2 has a 38% chance. What does that leave the other 3 doors?
a lower chance than 30.
Which is roughly 20. So roughly 20%. So the other 3 have a 20% chance. Theoretically, what is your probability? 25%. So we know that all of them have a 25% theoretical chance. But then we know that experimentally, door number 2 has a 38% chance, which is interesting because I've heard some people say, well, since I know that information, I wouldn't choose door number 2, I would choose something else because that seems too high, or that's where the last contestants won. And we've heard the opposite, which is I would choose that because that's the highest probability. So thoughts?
I would choose because like all 4 doors have the same probability of getting the money if it's talking about experimental or theoretical probability of 4 doors. So I would switch because there's an equally likely chance that you get the money didn't have any.
theoretically.
I would also switch and probably not choose 2 because if the host was telling you that other people won by choosing 2, they might want you to choose. Like, but I don't know. And so, but I would change because have a higher chance of winning money.
I think I would stay at 3 because if they all have like a theoretical probability of what 25%, and you already did that one and it didn't work, so like it wasn't lucky that time, then it's more likely.
Well, he's actually keeping it open. So I think you're misunderstanding. He's showing you it, so then you are eliminating that one. Ah, see, I didn't put that in there, did I? For a reason, but yeah. Good conversation. It's interesting because it's like human behavior is part of a game show, and game shows study human behavior.
Do they?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they really do. There's a TED Talk on it. And that's where I got the idea from. I was like, because TED has a lot of cool stuff on algebra and they had one on probability. And I just typed in like TED probability and this came up. It's really cool. If you haven't watched it, it's fascinating because The Price is Right. You guys ever heard of that? Okay. They're the most well known for studying human behavior. And so what they'll do is they figure out, like, if I put this up and that up, what's more likely going to happen, right? And they do studies on it, and they figure out, 7 out of 10 people choose that. And so they create the game so 7 out of 10 get it wrong. Does that make sense? So that way, everyone feels like it's a game of skill with a little bit of probability, right? And you have but they've made the game against you. It's pretty fascinating. And that's where I got the idea, is that game show hosts do that. They'll say, 3 out of 8 people, they've won by picking door number 2, right? And you know what most people do?
Pick door number 2.
Pick door number 2. I don't know what the probability is, but I can't remember, but they talk about it in the TED. It's like 6 out of 10. So it's more than half. So they're winning. So they know they're going to win this battle over the course of time because 6 out of 10 is better than 5 out of 5 or 5 out of 10. Okay, so that's where this kind of came from. It's just a pretty fascinating conversation, but it all has to do with probability and figuring out what the probability is of Jackie. If I say something to Jackie, what's the probability of her doing this versus that? And so I can manipulate Jackie in certain ways to make sure she loses. Ha ha ha!
So what do you produce all these?
I don't get it.
What don't you get?
So it says that you could switch to a different door or keep your original choice, but if you already know it's behind door 3,
Then you wouldn't choose that door.
because there's no prize behind.
And if you chose number 3, what would you do? You would
Nothing again?
no. I mean, would you stay at door 3?
No, because there's no prize.
Right, there's no prize. You would switch.
They leave the door open so you.
So the probability starts as a 1/5 theoretically. Then it goes to a 1/4. But then the host throws in the caveat of the experimental probability of the last 8 contestants.
So it's kind of like when we did the warm up. I think it was yesterday with the coins, and you have to get 3 matching ones. So once you take one out, you have to eliminate that one, so you only have 4 left. So once you open door number 3, you only have 4 doors left, and so it would be a greater probability to switch than to if you didn't switch, you still wouldn't get anything.
Right. If you chose door 3,
But why would you tell you you can keep door 3 because you already know it's behind it?
that's just human logic, right? That you would switch. But by eliminating door 3, it increases your probability from a 20% chance to a 25% chance. So what does that do to you? Makes you feel better. You have a better chance, right? And then what do? They tell you the experimental probability. So you get like this release of endorphins.
So really,
So they're trying to
there's-
lose you.
They're trying to manipulate you, yeah.
so really there's only 3 doors that actually probably would have the prize behind
Possibly.
them. They wouldn't tell you that doors
I would
do
choose
have
that
the
door.
I know.
I would
Okay.
choose 4. I would choose.
Please go ahead, Phil, if you have not filled in your notes.
I choose 1 because I'm number 1.
One thing that matches your train of thought, and one thing that was different. Jacob, you take your notes already? You got them? Okay. One thing that matches and one thing that's different. Looks like everyone seems like they're pretty good on that.
Wait, is that just for question 1?
Yep, just question 1. Question number 2.
Because we probably won't get time, we should do the number 3.
Okay.
Do number 3.
Number 2 is quick. Looking at the problem that was assigned, identify, and I'll just say a most common mistake that would occur when completing the problem. Go.
I thought that the most common mistake would be when you're finding probability, like the very first one, when you're finding the probability of all the doors, you take 1 divided by 5 and you get 0.2. And some people might turn that into 2% instead of 20%. That was a really common mistake.
So I agree with you in that respect. However, I thought a more common mistake could be switching to door number 2 because the host said that he had an aide got door number 2 correctly when they chose it. So you might be thinking, yeah, there's a high probability of this. It would be a good door to choose.
I do agree with you for confusing the probability because I know that I did confuse the probability because I thought it was all 5, but then after hearing some other people talk, I realized that there was a door already taken away, and then we went deeper and deeper and deeper. So
And then like Lulu was saying earlier, just getting the opening of door number 3 confused in the problem, and like the switching or staying is,
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that someone might have thought they closed door number 3 and then rehide the money.
What I thought. Yeah, one of my common mistakes was like, when I saw that he eliminated when you went to door 2, that you would have like a greater chance, but then I'm like, infamously, we learned that when you do that, then you have, your chances keep getting lower and lower and lower when you eliminate more doors. And then I thought they kept getting higher and higher and higher, so I messed that up.
one thing that I did was the first time I did it, I was confused. I confused if they closed the door or not, like they eliminated it or not.
Yeah, I agree with Lulu and David, because I had to reread it like a few times before I understood what it actually said.
I think that you might have gotten messed up, when they opened door number 3, it was you still think that it was a 20% chance for each of the doors instead of 25.
I'll make sure I talk to the guy who wrote this, and I will get this fixed. I know him personally.
Oh, you gonna bring a baseball bat?
And clobber myself? Why would I do that?
You know, club, 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 club.
No, yeah, I tried to make this as, I want it to be kind of, not super straightforward, but now I figured it out after talking and going through it all day. Now I know exactly what I'm going to do next year. So it's more comparing game show A to game show B, very similar game shows. One of the things that wasn't brought up, and we'll get to the third question, was a fair game. Is this a fair game?
No.
Why? Why is it not?
Because it started off as a fair game, but then when you started eliminating more doors,
Because it gives you the experimental probability for number 2. Or door number 2.
No, it
Door
would
2
be
has what? So it's 36%.
What makes a fair game?
So,
Equally probability.
Equally likely outcomes, and there's one more thing.
equal probability.
We've talked about it.
Equal outcomes.
It gives you the
Huh?
experimental probability for number 3, or door number 3.
No. It's having equal likely outcomes, and the game must be
Fair.
random.
Oh, yeah.
So technically.
Yeah, because the people that are hiding the money have money.
So, why is this game not fair?
Because the people dictate where it goes.
People dictate where the money goes.
I mean, they could like put it in a door, switch the doors around, and then put the numbers on it so they don't know where the money is.
They technically could, or if they wanted it to be truly fair, they could roll a dice. Whatever number pops up, that's the door that it goes behind. Because they know
Take a money gun and just shoot it across the doors.
Okay, question number 3. Thanks. Okay, given we're learning skills for real life application, do you feel the skills that the problem asks you are essential?
Okay, so should we give an example?
Sure.
Okay, so I thought that this was a new skill in life now and in the future. An example is, this is kind of awesome. This is if you were a baseball player and you've been up to bat 4,000 times and you've hit the ball 3,104 times, this means you've hit the ball 80% of the time. Then the next game you find out you're going to hit the ball 20 times. You can then see that or estimate that you will hit the ball about 16 times, which is 80% of 20.
Dude, that guy's a beast. Like, legit.
What do you think, Jacob?
I think that the skills are pretty needed in life. For example, if you play a game, you want to find the probability, theoretical probability, and experimental probability. So why would you need to find the theoretical and experimental probability? Like, would it help make a decision? Would it help see if your data was correct? What would it do? It could do both of those things.
One thing that would kind of like relate to real life is if you were on a game show. Then you find the theoretical probability of what store you'd get.
That's what I thought, is like if you were doing gambling or game shows or things like that. And this particular problem would be handy.
Well, I think, like, it could, like, help you not get manipulated, like, so then there's a really high chance of you getting door number 2 being $500. Like, they could manipulate you, and they know where it is. Like, it can help you just not do that, I guess.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Michaela?
I didn't do one in my game show. I thought see your chances of getting it.
What do you think, Orlando?
So, I said, say you're in a game of roller derby. In roller derby, you'll need to know how to use theoretical probability, which was also needed in the game show. Then in roller derby, if you don't notice that theoretical probability is needed, you probably will have a disadvantage.
Yes, you will have a disadvantage. Okay, we're going to pause there because I know. We're going to do another Socratic, not next.
Tomorrow.
No, not next week. It will be the week after. 3 weeks away. It'll be our last one for the year. All right. I'm going to put the exit ticket up. Let's put the room back together. Good job, guys. Oh wait, I need Axel. I need your notes. Jackie, your notes. Max, your notes.
You mean this thing?
Yep. That's it. Only those 3.
I did.
Wait, what now?
Yeah. Oh, give me that. Give me that too. Give me that too.
Do we have to turn this into?
Nope. Your sheet goes in your learning.
Wait, so do we not fill this in?
No. I've scored you on your participation.
What did I get?
Here we go.
0.
Yep. You weren't filling them in. All right, here we go. There is your guys, Ben. Your exit ticket. It's not easy.
The sheet for is homework.
Yeah, the sheet you grabbed at the door is homework. No, you're good. You're good. Shh. Okay, this exit ticket, I'm going to change that graphic. I just haven't had a chance. If it was just a blank circle, okay, it's not divided into anything.
Wait, do we divide it?
You divide it.
Oh.
And you divide it based upon the results.
Oh my gosh! There's 50. Dude, this is awesome.
Shh. You can work as a group.
So,
Put it on the other side. Or is that your chair on this side? You can be.
Ballpark it.
Yeah, yep. It's an estimation. Obviously, you know where 25% is. And then because you can split 25% into 12.5%, you know where that is. You know where 50% is. You know where 75% is. You know where 37.5 is. So. Right?
About 22. And 19 is about 35%.
what's another 8? So there's 52. You're smart. So half of a quarter would be 25. Well,
Yes.
which would technically mean that 7 is a rounded percent, so 7 would probably be half a quarter.
Yeah, that's right.
Or an 8.
And then
There we go. Now you're talking.
an 8. How? What?
Well, how much is a quarter? Is 25%.
13% is about half, right?
13% is half.
Of a quarter.
And so then half of that is about 7. Right? Because these are slightly estimates because you don't have a protractor.
And then
Ben.
20 about 45%. Right, 27%.
It's almost 25%.
I was talking about I mean, it should be fine.
So A is probably
Do you know what the whole is?
10%
Okay, so you got a good start. So now you got to figure out if you know the whole is 52. This represents 52. What's 7 of 52? Or what is 7/50 seconds, right? What is it?
35%. I just did this.
No. What is 7 over 52?
7.4? Wait, no.
Yeah, 7.4 about, right? So it's about 7%. Okay, guys, you can finish this on your time, but just remember, I will be checking it. David, is that your calculator? Whose calculator?
I don't know.
What number is it? 5? 4. All right, guys, see you later.